Reselling can be a great way to make money online, but finding the best stuff to sell can be tricky. Even as someone who has been selling off and on for the last 10 years and even sold full-time for a couple of years, it's something that I'm still learning because the market is always changing. There are different trends, different products, and the things that people are buying just always change. Here are some of my tips for when you're outsourcing for items to sell at thrift stores and yard sales or wherever you go to source your inventory. My number one tip is to start with what you know. We all have different experiences, different skills. Everyone has different interests or different jobs that they've had, and everybody has different knowledge because of that. Using your knowledge from your experience or your lifestyle will help you find things that are good to resell. For example, I can tell you that there are certain cloth diaper brands that sell well, even when they're used, because I cloth diapered my children. Meanwhile, I could not tell you which video games are going to sell for a lot of money, but maybe you're a gamer and you know what video games to look out for that will bring a good profit. That's one of the things that makes reselling great, because we all have different knowledge and interests to bring to it that we can use in our reselling businesses. So use your knowledge and skills to figure out what to sell. So if you know a lot about like video games, like I said, maybe go to that section of the thrift store or look out for yard sales that have video games, because you can easily spot out of 100 games which ones might sell for more. Whereas I would have no idea, and I would have to look up every individual game one by one to figure it out. So that kind of gives you a head start on the things that you know about. You also want to consider what is going to make you the most profit. What categories or types of items are going to make you the most profit? For example, when I walk into the thrift store, I think, okay, which items in this thrift store are more likely going to give me a profit if I find something good? I personally sell mostly clothing and shoes just because that's what I know. And I know that shoes and dresses are going to bring me a lot more profit than if I go and look at tank tops, for example. So within your knowledge and the things that you're trying to sell, what are the things that you want to spend the most time looking for, because they're going to bring you more of a profit? There aren't a lot of tank tops that sell for a lot of money. So for that example, I might be able to find one here and there once in a while, but it wouldn't be a good use of my time to look through 200 tank tops when I could go browse the shoes or the dresses and find items that are more likely to make me more profit. I'm going to pause right here and ask you to give this video a thumbs up if you like it and you found it helpful so far, and go ahead and subscribe if you want to see more videos on reselling and building multiple streams of income, and let's continue the video. The next thing you'll learn as you start to resell more is to look for quality. You don't know every brand out there or every item out there, but looking for things that are good quality within the categories that you know is always a good idea. This is especially helpful if you shop at places like the Goodwill outlet or even just regular thrift stores and yard sales. If you can feel an item or see that an item is made of good quality materials, there's a better chance of it having a high resale value. So when I'm digging through a bin looking for clothing, I can kind of feel which items are higher quality and which ones are either worn out or not good quality, and I won't even take the time to look at those because I want to focus on the items that are more likely going to bring me a profit. So taking all three of those things into consideration, you can easily kind of figure out what types of items to look for or to go to first at the thrift store or to search for more specifically at yard sales. As an example, like I said, I mostly do clothes and shoes. I do some hard goods here and there if it's something that I know will sell well. If I had a bunch of electronics in front of me, I would have no idea where to start other than to look them all up individually. And when you're trying to go to 20 yard sales in a day, you can't sit there at every single yard sale and spend 45 minutes looking things up. It's always a good idea to expand your knowledge that way, but when you're trying to source, it's not always a good idea to just look every single thing up unless the purpose of your sourcing trip is to expand your knowledge. So with clothes and shoes, I know the first things, if I walk into a thrift store today, I'm going to go to dresses, shoes, and jeans. Those are the things that I can quickly go through that I know are going to bring me the highest profit if I find something. If I have time after that, I will go into other categories such as sweaters and outerwear or tops and pants. I don't generally spend any time looking at things like purses or ties or belts. I know there's money to be made in those, but I just spend too much time looking things up, and I find that it's not a good use of my time when I could be looking at things that I know well. When I'm at a yard sale, I will kind of look things up as I go if there's not a lot of stuff. Otherwise, I'll kind of just grab stuff and then go somewhere quiet to look things up at the end. And this is my process at thrift stores and at Goodwill outlet as well. I will just pile everything into my cart that I'm interested in. Looking up items as you go along is kind of time consuming, and it will stop you from making a lot of progress, and you're kind of blocking the aisles that way. So I like to just make a huge pile in my cart and then go somewhere in like the back of the store where I'm out of the way, and one by one I'll look things up. There are always items that I know I'm going to grab because I have experience selling those items and I just know they're going to sell. But anything that I'm not sure of or I haven't sold in a long time, I will go ahead and look that up because you have these tools at your fingertips. You can look up what has sold recently. So if you are just not looking things up and kind of guessing, there's a lot of times that you're going to buy things that are not going to sell. And I like to only buy things that are a sure thing. I'd rather not buy a lot of stuff that's just going to sit around. That's a waste of my time and that's a waste of my money. So I will look up almost every single thing in my cart. And often I will find that I have a cart full of stuff like overflowing to the top of my cart. And in the end, I put 80% of it back because it's not worth the time or the money. This might seem like a waste of time because you're spending a lot of time looking things up, but consider the money and the time you'd be wasting buying this item, spending your money investing in this item, and then spending your time investing in taking photos and listing the item and putting it in inventory and continuously having to relist it because it's not selling. So putting a little bit of time, like 30 seconds to a minute up front to look each item up is a really good use of your time so that you're not buying anything that's not worth buying. The other thing you really need to check for is check for flaws. When you're sourcing secondhand items, especially, you need to check for flaws because if you get home really excited about something, you found a top that's going to sell for like $50 online, and then you get home and you go to take pictures and there's a huge hole in it, that's going to kill your profit. You either aren't going to be able to sell it, or you're going to have to spend time fixing it to sell it, or you're going to have to sell it for a lot less. So first I will check for flaws, and then I will either put it in a pile for things to look up or things to definitely buy because I have experience selling that item. So these are my best tips for sourcing at yard sales and thrift stores. Everybody does it differently, but this is the way that I have found that has worked best for me over the last 10 or so years of my experience. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you have any other tips for sourcing at yard sales and thrift stores, definitely leave them in the comments below. If you have any questions for me, again, leave them in the comments and I always try to respond. If you want a step-by-step guide to reselling and figuring out which items are going to help you make a profit, I do have a course called the Reseller Roadmap. It's a step-by-step guide to starting, streamlining, and scaling your reselling business. It is a great way for beginners to get started. Of course, you don't need a course to get started. I always have to say this when I talk about my course. You don't need a course to get started, but if you're kind of tired of Googling and you just want someone to walk you through the steps, then this is here for you to kind of get you a head start. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.